Kim Kardashian, Rachel Zegler, and Ezra Miller. Rachel Zegler and Ezra Miller, past, present, and future cancellations in Hollywood. What the heck is going on? Stars are crashing and burning all around us. You're live with the guy every day at noon Central, where I cover pop culture. We do have a counterpart to this show, which is a political show at 9:15. So if you're interested in politics, please come back. I got the lovely Nat over here on the mic reading articles.
Hello.
And making the show run smooth. Okay, let's get right into this. Kim Kardashian, all in on feminism. She's trying to make a transition into Hollywood and acting, but she's betting the bank on feminism. Let's get into the first article here.
So from Deadline, Kim Kardashian eyed to star in Bratz movie at Amazon MGM Studios, MGA Entertainment, and Picture Start Producing.
Okay, and maybe before we get into this article specifically, we're going to go into 3 articles, maybe 4, that highlight what her movie selection choices are. The first one is Bratz, and that kind of makes sense because people have always said she looks like the dolls with all the surgery and her lips on her face. She had a bigger badunky dunk, but other than that, she is a real fit for these Bratz dolls. The thing is, she's not playing the actual doll, she's playing the villain of the movie. Okay, let's go a little bit into the article here.
So after a competitive bidding battle, Amazon MGM Studios has landed the package for a live-action movie revolving around the Bratz doll line, with Kim Kardashian and Picture Start on board to produce. Charlie Pollinger and Lucy McKendrick are writing the script, and while a deal is not closed, sources say Kardashian is being eyed to play the villain in the project.
Okay, let's pause it right there for a sec. She's going to be one of the producers on this film, acting in this film, so they're really trying to bring her fan base to hopefully snowball this thing into getting some media publicity. Once we see the other selections of her films, it really looks like this is feminism geared towards children. She's made a career on her looks, and now that she's entering the second half of her life, I think she realizes her looks are going to be quickly fading. I thought she was going to go into lawyering because she did finish her degree, but it looks now like she wants to transition into Hollywood. I think she knows men aren't going to follow her because her looks are fading, so she's betting on women and feminism. The problem with that is there's a transition culturally happening right now. We've seen what happened to Ballerina, which was a good movie, yet fans rejected it because of the girl boss narrative and things like that. Also, Jurassic Park is starting to have rumors of cancellation because it's another potential girl boss movie. Okay, let's go a little bit more into this article so we can learn about the movie, and then we'll go into her second role that she's chosen for herself.
So it says, given all the parties involved, along with the global popularity of the toy line, the package saw plenty of interest. But given the strong ties Kardashian and the studio already have, it makes sense the project ended up at Amazon MGM. Last year, the studio won an auction for an untitled thriller with Kardashian set to star. Following the success of the Barbie movie in 2023, studios have been on the lookout for iconic toys that could have similar pop on the big screen.
Okay, one moment. Yeah, and now they're bringing up Barbie, like a Bratz doll is a Barbie doll. Barbie is iconic, intergenerational. Bratz, there's a couple generations that know it. It is not huge. I expect this movie to probably flop, maybe have backlash based on Kim Kardashian's direction of her career. She seems to be uncancelable, at least early in her career. It looks like she's lining up for a major cancellation, maybe after Pedro Pascal. She's the next in line, perhaps.
And also, Bratz dolls, yes, they're a lot newer, and at the same time, they always had a different audience for girls, and they weren't as well liked by parents because of how they look.
Well, and they've kind of fallen off. I mean, I remember when Bratz dolls came up, not that I was buying or playing with Bratz dolls at all, but they were all over the media. They were all over commercials. Nobody talks about these things no more. They're not selling. The store shelves are full. This is going to be a push to reintroduce Bratz dolls, and I just don't think it's going to work. I think Barbie has that market cornered. Okay, let's go into the next article here. And this is the next kind of movie she selected for herself, and it has why don't you read the headline really quick?
From The Hollywood Reporter, Kim Kardashian plays hardball divorce lawyer in Ryan Murphy's All's Fair legal drama trailer. There's no amicable splits from this all-female Hollywood law firm in Hulu's A sexy procedural teased at Disney's Upfront, set to debut this fall.
And yeah, I did watch the trailer for this and it looked horrible. It was girl boss. This thing would have hit maybe 10 years ago when feminism girl boss was in its prime. Right now, like I said, the culture is changing. There is going to be a backlash, not only on this series, but I think the subject matter of this series and Kim Kardashian being in it. And really, this is the series that really links her with feminism. As we go into the next story, it links her even further. Let's read a little bit about it.
So Kim Kardashian plays a powerhouse divorce lawyer running an all-female law firm alongside Naomi Watts.
One moment. And she's pulling a Vladimir Zelensky here. He played a president on TV, and then he became the president of Ukraine. She got a degree as a lawyer. She hasn't passed the bar exam yet, and now she's going to play one on TV, so people actually believe her if she has to go into her fallback career. Her fallback career may become her primary career because she's not making good movie selections.
And Niecy Nash bets in the trailer for Ryan Murphy's All's Fair legal drama, which dropped on Tuesday. The series, to be teased at Disney's Upfront's presentation on Tuesday, portrays women helping women to leave their cheating scoundrel husbands. As a in-your-face Glenn Close in the role of Diana Standish tells a client at one point in the trailer, "Get mad, get hot, get revenge."
Yeah, this is a man-hating movie, and with the society really moving back towards masculinity and really starting to embrace masculinity because they're absolutely tired of feminism being shoved down their throat, especially by Hollywood. This is a bad choice. This leans into feminism girl boss as heavy-handed as I have ever seen. This I don't think is going to work for the modern audience. It may have a specific demographic, but this specific demographic isn't going to be the masses.
And yesterday, Pop Culture Crisis had a good point that, Ryan Murphy, the producer, will never do, but it would have been more interesting if it was an all-female lawyer firm, but they defended only men. That would have been a
twist, and it would have hit where the culture's at. This was obviously put in production, and the idea was done during the woke era or the progressive era, and now they're just having to salvage it and go all the way through with the project. Problem is the backlash just keeps building for this type of cinema. And that being said, if you compared this to the Bratz movie, the Bratz is feminism aimed towards children. This is feminism aimed towards the girl boss or the traditional model. Okay, let's go into the next story, and it's not her next movie role. It's actually what's going to, I think, get her canceled more than anything, and she keeps voicing her political opinions and things like this, and this isn't the first time. We'll talk a little bit about it, but she's voicing her political opinions along with other stars like Eva Longoria, and then she's teaming up with Eva Longoria in her next film or TV series. And I think they were going to kind of use this to maybe promote that. But I think if they're smart, they'll realize don't talk politics, don't attach the fact that you guys were political buddies and fighting against Trump in order to promote their next film. Let's go a little bit into this.
So Kim Kardashian and Eva Longoria speak out against immigration raids as celebs slam Trump protests everywhere. As tensions rise, Hollywood's elite are using their voices to call for compassion, accountability, and action, making it clear they will not stay silent. This is from Standard.Code.
Yeah, and this is a non-political show. My political opinions I do share at night on our 9:15 Central show, Nat and the Guy Live. For this, I'm just more interested in the fact that anytime a star is really voicing their political opinions now, people don't want politics mixed with Hollywood anymore. We're seeing the backlash against Pedro Pascal. We've seen the backlash against Rachel Zegler. There are countless Hollywood stars that are crashing and burning because they're unable to separate politics from who they are, and they just have to use their star power to try to influence the political sphere. Okay, let's go a little bit into the article. I don't want to go too much into this one because I'm trying to stay away from politics, but it definitely has to do with the direction of Kim Kardashian's career and what could bring on a major cancellation.
So So Kim Kardashian and Eva Longoria are among a wave of celebrities publicly condemning recent Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE raids in Los Angeles and President Donald Trump's decision to send in military forces to suppress protests. Taking to Instagram, Kardashian wrote, "When we're told that ICE exists to keep our country safe and remove violent criminals, great. But when we witness innocent, hardworking people being ripped from their families in inhumane ways, we have to speak up. We have to do what's right."
Okay, and let's kind of stop it there. Now, Kim Kardashian was smarter than Eva Longoria. Eva Longoria put out a full video on social media, which didn't play too well. Oh, actually, we have it right here. Why don't we play that? I didn't realize this was in the article. And this is a lot of misinformation, and we go into what's actually going on with these raids and deportations on our night show, but let's just watch the video real quick here.
Let's see if it lets me play it. So if it doesn't, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to get on here and finally compose myself to do a message because of everything that's happening with the mass deportations. Every time I try to record a message, I just start crying, and then I don't want it to be about me and my emotions about it, but it's just so inhumane, hard to watch. It's hard to witness from afar. I can't imagine what it's like to be in Los Angeles right now. I can't believe it's happening in Austin, Texas. I can't believe it's happening all over the country. And the comments and people's reactions to it is really so surprising to me because it is un-American. We all can agree nobody wants criminals in our country. Nobody wants rapists. Nobody wants drug dealers. Nobody wants bad actors in our country. That's not what's happening. These round up.
And that kind of is exactly what's happening. I'll go into it extremely quickly just so we don't fall victim to this propaganda. But Donald Trump so far has a list online that you can view of everybody he's deporting, their criminal charges, things like this. It's around 137,000 at this point. In his first term, he deported 1.4 million, which is by far the least any modern president has ever deported. I talk a lot about this on my night show, so I know the statistics by heart, but let's start with Bill Clinton. He was the most. He deported over 12.5 million immigrants in his 2 terms in office. After him, we had George Bush, who did 10.5 million immigrants deported. After him, we had Barack Obama, who did 5.5 million. Then we had Joe Biden, who also did around 5 million. And then we had Trump's first term, which was 1.5 million. Of all those presidents, who had the best reputation was Bill Clinton, and he did the most with 12.5 million deportations. And a lot of those deportations were normal citizens. Of all the presidents, Trump knows the narrative, and he really wants to try to control the narrative. That's why he's making sure a lot of this stuff is transparent, and he's releasing the criminal records and the identities of the people he is deporting. Okay, let's continue to go with the next article here. And this is her final selection, and it has to do with Eva Longoria, who we just seen there. She's going to be the director or producer of this next one, I believe.
So from Deadline, Kim Kardashian, Paula Pell Netflix comedy The Fifth Wheel taps Eva Longoria to direct, Gloria Sanchez to produce.
Okay, and we can see what's going on here just by the headlines. They're trying to tick boxes and say female, 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 female director, female producer, female this, female cast, female everything. And people are kind of tired of this, and Hollywood loves to fund this. The government even loves to fund this because there is a ton of, what do you call it?
DEI?
No, a ton of funding.
Funding? USAID?
No. There's specialized funding, grants. There's plenty of grant money for anything that involves all female anything these days. Okay, let's go into this.
The Netflix pick The Fifth Wheel from Kim Kardashian and screenwriter Paula Pell is adding even more star power, as sources tell Deadline that Eva Longoria is set to direct with Gloria Sanchez coming on as producers of the comedy. Kardashian is on board to star from a script by Pell and Jenny Brito. Both Kardashian and Pell are producing along with Jessica Alba and Will Ferrell through their Gloria Sanchez banner, as well as Chris Abrego and Longoria's High Fidelity
And we
Media
can
company.
see what's happening here with the 3 films. The one's feminism for children, the other one's feminism hardcore, hardcore for girl boss, and this is feminism light sold through comedy. So she is really betting everything she has. I believe this one isn't due out till 2027, maybe early 2028. So she's really picking feminist roles for the next 3 years, and we could see the slow unwinding of Kim Kardashian here. It's going to be very interesting. Even if things do go wrong for her, though, she does have the secondary option of becoming a lawyer, which she recently graduated law school with.
Well, slow unwinding, but at the same time, after her divorce from Kanye, this is making her come out to seem like this empowered woman that's doing all these projects. She's coming into Hollywood, finding a new way to do things.
Yeah, I think she misread the tea leaves, and she thought the country was going to head in one direction, and it's headed in the opposite direction. A lot of the stuff was already put in production, and now she's going to have to pay the consequences, most likely.
But you do have to admit that either she or most likely manager Mama Chris are, finding a new way to send her off in a new direction.
Yeah,
Smart.
I completely agree. That's it for Kim Kardashian. I will give updates as it comes in on these disasters of movies, or at least what I expect to be disasters of movies. Okay, let's change the screen. We're trying to clip these articles now so I can put videos up on the regular channel. So we're going to have a little bit of a break in between. Some of the articles I'm going to cover at the end of the show that we're not going to clip here is going to be F1. F1 is looking amazing. I got an article on that, and it's coming out real soon. The projections are fairly high. I think it might even break those projections.
And we do have some comments. So Follow the Bradley's Fund says, the guy, hello Ned, hello the guy. Bratz dolls still exist. Hello Ron, thank you for being here. Nice to see you on WW Pro the other day and to talk with you. And so yeah, apparently Bratz dolls still exist.
Yeah, I know. I was surprised as well. We live in Mexico, and Mexico is sometimes 5 or 10 years behind the United States, and I don't see Bratz dolls in the stores. Then again, I'm not always going down the toy aisle.
I used to have Bratz dolls.
Well, the tool section in the Walmart's right next to the toy aisle, so I do go down there because I get lost, and I don't see any Bratz dolls anywhere. And this is in Mexico, which you would kind of expect it to be here.
But with nowadays and how every girl has Instagram face and looks a certain way, I would just say, Bratz dolls are actually, more to how people look nowadays, how women look, and they're more, quote unquote, empowering for little girls. Not in my opinion, obviously. But.
Well, it's also funny they're trying to cast Kardashian in as the villain of the Bratz movies when she could have easily played the Bratz doll.
Well, because she always came out when, I was going to say it earlier, but when she was a bit younger, she would come out and say that they're based upon her and that she's like a Bratz doll. They made it, she and her sisters used to make a lot of comparisons of themselves to Bratz dolls because...
Yeah, she's going to disappear into the abyss just like the Bratz dolls did. That's what's going to happen there.
And Rafa says, hi, good afternoon. Hello, Rafa.
Oh, I got a couple people today. I'm usually broadcasting to myself and people catch me on replays. So this is kind of nice. Okay, let's go into... let's go into Rachel Zegler. Rachel Zegler, No Way Back, a Hollywood train wreck. And you covered this when you were on WDW Pro the other day. So let's kind of go into these articles. I got a series of them showing what happened to her career and kind of where she's headed.
So first is this profile that says Rachel Zegler, theater kid based princess. After breaking records on Broadway, the 24-year-old actor is playing her dream part on London's West End. Okay. No amount of bullying or scandal can change that.
Well, let's pause it right there. And there's 2 of the 3 articles I got today are framing Rachel Zegler as this strong, powerful woman who they really want to put up as the next Hollywood star, or at least that's what they wanted to do. Hollywood is having her. The problem is the fans aren't, and anything she's in is going to get canceled. So let's just take everything in these articles with a bit of a grain of salt because they absolutely love the Zegler. Okay, let's read and see what's going on here.
So in this profile from ID, it says Zegler is spinning on a desk chair eating sushi. She spent the morning living out her dream, and after lunch, we'll do it all again. For the past month, Zegler, the clear-voiced, internet literate, Golden Globe winning illiterate, has been holed up in a rehearsal studio in the deep East London, preparing to play the lead in London's West End revival of Evita. It's a Friday, the final day for Zegler, and the team will spend here
Okay, let's pause it there, and then we'll skip further down the article when we continue there. But they're really trying to frame her transition as her return to theater, her return to Broadway. We're going to see as these articles go on, Americans weren't having her. That's why they didn't even put her in Broadway. They brought her over to London so she can quietly do her thing and kind of revitalize herself and maybe get good press from the propaganda media like the BBC and things like that over in the UK. Okay, let's continue here.
Zegler is in beast mode. She yearned to play Eva Peron since she was a child. The proof exists online where videos of her singing its most famous number, Don't Cry for Me, Argentina.
Well, one sec. And this is why nobody trusts mainstream media or these pop culture rags. And they do come to places like WDW Pro, Pop Culture Crisis, Culture Casino, and us. This is just pure propaganda and anybody can see through it. This is like the CNN of pop culture. Okay, let's continue here. Sorry to interrupt you.
She wins a little when you mention it. It's giving 2021. She deadpans, but to an outside eye, the videos are lovely and prophetic. 8 times a week for the whole summer, she'll belt out the song for over 2,000 people per show. She's also doing it outside the theater, so the most iconic song in the musical isn't even actually done live for this audience that's paying, but whatever. She's too young to have seen any previous live productions of Evita, but she's aware of the legacy she's inheriting from the greats of the game, Patti LuPone, Madonna, and Elaine Page. This summer, though...
Well, hold on. A legacy? I know way too much about Rachel Zegler because when Snow White came out, that's all we made for videos for a little while. So she has no respect for history or anything that went on. She completely betrayed what Snow White was. And to say she's going to give homage to other legends that once were, I think this is, again, just a bunch of propaganda. And I would take this with more than just a grain of salt. Okay, let's read the kind of end of the article here, and then we'll get into the next one to kind of put the dominoes together.
It's a long article. Hold on. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to leave you there.
Well, that might get us clicks. So.
Yeah, it's a long profile.
Okay, just read some part of the article here that's near the end. This is good.
I'm trying to see. It's not even the end. Hold on. 3 weeks later. Yeah, hold on. I lost a lot of opportunities for joy by thinking there's no way I could possibly survive this. She had said to me a few weeks earlier, and it's like, you're fine. Okay, drama queen, you're cool. Don't worry, you're all right. When those things are going on, she said, you just want to push it away because it's a bad feeling. I realized as I got older that sitting in it is so much more important than pushing it away. Zegler took a swig of her iced tea and smiled.
This was obviously a puff piece trying to revitalize Zegler. I wouldn't be surprised if she paid for something like this. This is absolute garbage of an article. How long that thing was, and they were still puffing her out by the end, is crazy. Let's go into the second article I have here, and this one's making radicalized claims as well. And we kind of covered this story the other day, but I put it back in here. She's saying she's choosing to leave Hollywood. No. The audiences are completely rejecting her. They kind of gave her the Pedro Pascal treatment, and Hollywood really wanted to pump her up, but audiences rejected her faster than like sliced bread.
So from That Park Place, go follow WDW Pro and That Park Place if you don't follow them. Rachel Zegler claims leaving Hollywood was her choice after Snow White flopped. Rachel Zegler is claiming she made the decision to leave Hollywood and return to theater after the disastrous Snow White. Rachel Zegler is back in the spotlight, but not the one she used to chase.
Yeah, and you're going to see the common thread between these three articles. Man, they touch this girl with kid gloves, or they really try to pump her up. And the thing is, anytime she tries to reemerge into Hollywood, the alternative media is really taking control of the space, and they're going to go over it with a fine-tuned comb, and she's going to have a really tough time getting back into Hollywood, because what makes and breaks stars now is the alternative media. So without a doubt, I think she will try to reemerge back into Hollywood after a Broadway run. I think Broadway is kind of where she belongs. As much as I dislike her, she is a good singer, and she's kind of suited for Broadway. Broadway is much more of a progressive audience, so they're going to look at her past in a much different way than mainstream audiences are going to remember her for Snow White. But Snow White is not going to be forgotten by mainstream audiences for a long, long time, if ever.
But I mean, this one from The Park Place, they're talking about what she said, but Marvin Montanero, who wrote it, actually goes hard against her.
Later on in the article, I think, yeah. Okay, let's go into it a little bit.
So in a feature interview, the embattled Snow White actress offers a carefully curated look at her current chapter, starring as Eva Peron in the already controversial West End revival of Evita. But beneath the gloss is a deeper story, a Hollywood career that has seemingly stalled, wrapped in public relations narrative that Zegler insists was always her own design. I came back to theater on my own volition, which is just crazy, Zegler says, laughing. I'm the type of person that can only be bored for like 2 weeks. After Romeo and Juliet closed, I was doing the odd press here and there for Snow White and was sitting there for a bit going, what am I supposed to do? That quote may say more than she intended.
Okay, yeah, maybe I was wrong about this article. They are going at it a little harder, and this is kind of what I like to see, honest journalism. All I can do is shake my head when I hear this girl talk, and she's not actually talking. These are her quotes, but it's like, my God, she's detached from reality.
Continue.
Yeah, let's skip down to the end because I do have one more article I want to cover with Zegler here.
Sure. I want to go to where she says that she left.
Yeah, and they really messed up Snow White when they did this thing. Okay, let's just go right there. It's perfect.
The final line sums up Zegler's... Oh, hold on. My compassion has no boundaries, Zegler said. My support for one cause does not denounce any others. My heart doesn't have a fence around it. And if that's considered my downfall, there are worse things. Final line sums up Zegler's carefully constructed image. She's portraying herself as the artist, as activist, misunderstood but unbroken, sidelined but not for poor judgment, but for courage. It's martyrdom wrapped up in designer jewelry, served alongside iced tea and Broadway ballads.
Okay.
It was referencing back to the article we read before.
Yeah. Okay, let's go into the final article here. And this was really her transition. And her team, her publicity team, her media connections with magazines and mainstream media really kind of curated this for her. Because if she would have failed over in London on a musical, that would have been the absolute end of her career. It looks like she's going to maybe be able to parlay this into a Broadway stint. I'm guessing after Broadway, she's going to try to make a second coming into Hollywood. Whoever takes a risk on her in Hollywood, I think is going to pay the price at the box office.
So from Deadline, breaking baths, red hot Zegler's horse in Evita London Palladium previews, heating up the box office as chatter turns to 2027 Broadway transfer.
1 second, and I'm just looking at the picture there, and I can never get the image out of my head of her standing on stage. Was it the Oscars with Gal Gadot?
Yes.
She just looked like a little midget lady, and she was completely unattractive next to Gal Gadot. If I were to take this image by itself, I would say, oh, she's an attractive girl, but ever since she stood next to Gal Gadot, and the fact that Gal Gadot was supposed to be the ugly queen in that movie, and she was supposed to be the beautiful, like, maiden hero lady, is absolutely crazy.
She has an interesting face, let's just put it that way.
Her eyes are like a fish. What? They are. Sometimes I look at my eyes on camera, they look a little bit crooked based upon the angle, but man, hers... It doesn't matter the angle. She's looking to the left and the right.
And it's weird, as an actress, she hasn't learned how to position her face properly and what her angles essentially are. Because in Snow White, there were too many angles where she looked like she didn't know how to properly react for camera. She was reacting as a human and not as an actor.
Well, and I also think she's used to like musical theater training, which is you are much more animated. You move your mouth a lot more, things like this. So what works on camera doesn't necessarily work on stage. She does have good reviews when she does do musicals, and she does have a good voice. I will give her that. So maybe stick to Broadway. I really hope she does not come back to Hollywood.
So Rachel Zegler is a sensation as her voice soars through the London's Palladium Auditorium and beyond, portraying Eva Peron in Evita, the classic Tim Rice, Andrew Lloyd Webber show directed by Jamie Lloyd. Also, Zegler, all 5'2" of her, is the biggest star in town, with punters adding 200,000 and more to box office daily since previews began a week ago, bringing the total advance as of late Friday afternoon, this was last week, I believe, to in excess of 9 million for a 12-week summer run.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's good or bad. I am very aware of the economics of film industry, movies. We used to work in the film industry in Vancouver, so I know how that works very well. I'm not going to pretend to know stage plays and theaters. I don't know if that's good. I know this was a major release in London, so I would expect it to make millions. How much did it actually have to make its budget back and things like that? I do think the progressive community does like her a lot, and I do think they're going to give her a chance on Broadway and try to launch her back into Hollywood. Like I said, I don't think the Hollywood return, if it ever comes, will work. Okay, let's change the screen. I'll talk a little bit,
I
and
thought
then
you were going to do an outro.
we'll go into the last article here. And let's see. Oh, Robert Downey Jr. was talking about Pedro Pascal and how he's quickly becoming a star. I think somebody has a new boyfriend in Hollywood, because I completely disagree with that. We're going to get into that right after this Ezra Miller story.
And Rafa says, let's hope Zegler, becomes a good person. That's a lot of hope.
Well, this is the thing about some of these stars.
She thinks she's a good person. That's the problem.
Well, this is the thing about these modern stars. They became modern stars through the attachment of politics, and it is who they are at their core. Much like Pedro Pascal, if you look into his past with his father and things like that, he's not going to be able to stop saying crazy political things, even though the tide is shifting away from politics. It's who he is at his core, and I think it's the same with Zegler. She's an extreme progressive that won't be able to keep her mouth shut, and that's why I think a Hollywood return really isn't in the cards for her.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Kim Kardashian is going down the same road, even though she is far less political in her past, but she wants to come out now.
Well, she's tried to be political.
Kanye was far more political, and maybe she got dragged into some of the things with him. I don't know, but
Yeah.
Okay. Ezra Miller. Don't call it a comeback. Call it a cancellation. Okay, some of you may not know who Ezra Miller is. I do. I actually caught him pretty early in his career. I thought he was okay in a lot of these independent films, but like a lot of these modern actors that try to make the transition from independent film to mainstream, it just doesn't work. They don't have the star power, and the amount of scandals that are following this guy are absolutely crazy. The first article we're going to go into is less about the article, and we're just going to kind of list off all the scandals, because I didn't even know some of the things he was involved in.
So from Rolling Stone, Ezra Miller's Reign of Terror, a timeline of the Flash's stars, many controversies. And this is from a while ago, so this is Ezra Miller. From when...
his big controversy, I'll kind of censor myself a little bit because it involves discussing things with children. But you're going to have to go pretty far down this article. It's going to be in bold print every time one of his scandals comes around.
It's not letting me.
Of course, it's not letting you. Okay, well, try to find another article about Ezra Miller's scandals there, or cancellation. A timeline of Ezra Miller's recent controversies. Let me try to look for something like that. Yeah, this was the article I actually had.
Okay.
That's why I was trying to confirm you had the right article.
Sorry.
Because a lot of these articles were behind paywalls. Okay, let's go into this. Just quickly go down till you see big parentheses.
So from People, a timeline of Ezra Miller's recent controversies. And this is from a while ago. But June 2021, Ezra Miller is charged with MJ green weed possession.
Okay, pause it there. And he starts off pretty mild. Nobody's going to get on his case, but this stuff adds up over time. And I just love the picture they used here. This guy is, I don't even know. Progressive masculinity. This guy is so far beyond progressive masculinity. He is something else completely. Okay, let's continue to go here.
April 2020, Ezra Miller appears to choke a woman outside a bar.
And now we're starting to get into some real scandals here.
January 2022, Ezra Miller delivers a cryptic message to the Ku Klux Klan. I don't know if we can say that.
And that's kind of where he really started to go crazy, and things started to really snowball out thereafter, and how he really managed a cancellation when he was supposed to be Hollywood's next big star.
In March 2022, Ezra Miller is charged with disorderly conduct and harassment.
Okay, why don't you read a little bit about that if you can?
On March 28, Miller was arrested and charged with disorderly conduct and harassment over remember he has they them pronouns, their alleged involvement in two separate incidents that happened at a karaoke bar in Hawaii. And
this whole thing was on film, and a lot of his scandals were on film, and there was a lot of eyewitnesses coming out in the news, and man, yeah, I just remember there was this, I think it was around 2022, and it was just Ezra Miller scandal. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go into the next headline there.
March 2022 as well, Ezra Miller gets a restraining order filed against him.
Why are they using his pronouns in here? Stop doing it.
April 2022, Ezra Miller is arrested on a second-degree assault charge.
Another assault.
June 2022, Ezra Miller is accused of GRU space-based
And
thing.
this is where the cancellation kind of came out, and the mainstream public was kind of demanding it because he was making statements with this grooming case. The parents were coming out. The child was coming out. This was a long-term case of grooming, and there was things of... it's hard to talk about this case overall.
Disgusting things.
Yeah, disgusting things. We'll just say that. I will say of all these kind of scandals that he's involved in, if you do want to learn more, research this particular scandal. I can't really talk about it on YouTube too much because of YouTube censorship and throttling. But let's keep going here.
June 2022, another parent comes forward with allegations against Ezra Miller. August 2022, Ezra Miller is accused of burglary.
And then after those two cases where those parents kind of came out, that's where he just completely spiraled, and you get a Hollywood $1 million star doing breaking and entering and things like this. Absolutely insane.
August 2022, Vermont State Police tried to serve an emergency care order to a mother staying at Ezra Miller's home. August 2022, Ezra Miller reveals he's seeking treatment for complex mental health issues.
God, 2022 was Ezra Miller's year, and I don't think anybody's going to really forget it.
October 17th, 2022, Ezra Miller pleads not guilty to burglary charge in Vermont. January 13, 2023, Ezra Miller pleads guilty to misdemeanor and begins a 1-year probation. April 24th, 2023, the Flash director addresses Ezra Miller's controversies.
And this was the thing. All those 2022, the Flash was supposed to come out. It kept getting delayed. They did not want to release that movie in the midst of all of his scandals, yet he could not stay out of the news headlines. Ezra Miller was supposed to be the next star, and The Flash was supposed to be his debut, and it did not turn out like that in any way, shape, or form.
May 2023, director Andy Muschietti says he has no plans to recast Ezra Miller in future The Flash films. June 12, 2023, Ezra Miller alludes to his recent controversies at The Flash premiere. And that was it.
Okay, so those are his scandals, and there's a reason we didn't read the whole article because the headlines alone of each of his scandals took quite a while to get through. Like I said, 2022 was his year. Okay, let's go into the next article here to kind of put this whole thing together. And the picture on this article is absolutely phenomenal.
So from Us Weekly, Ezra Miller expresses remorse and lamentation over past controversies.
So let's hear his side of it. I did not go in depth into his scandals. We read the headlines. You kind of get the idea. I can't talk about it, a lot of this on YouTube. Let's see what he has to say about it and how he's...
I did not see the shorts.
Yeah, and how he's trying to frame this. When I actually first seen that picture, I at first didn't see the shorts either. And as I started going down, I said, is he wearing a skirt? Those are like the closest you can get to a skirt, but still be shorts. Okay.
Still uses them. So the Flash actor who uses they, them pronouns still first made headlines in 2020 when he appeared to choke a woman at a bar. Actor played a no contest to a bunch of other stuff. In August that year, he said he had recently gone through a time of intense crisis and begun treatment to deal with complex mental health issues. After nearly 3 years... Oh, God.
Oh, they're trying to censor... Ezra Miller's trying to censor us live.
And Us Weekly. There has to be something done about all the pop-up things. Now I lost my place. After nearly 3 years out of the spotlight, the actor surprised fans when he was spotted at the Cannes Film Festival in May 2025, walking the red carpet at the premiere of Die My Love.
And 1 second, and this is kind of where we're going into it. So we talked about his past scandals right here. We're going to get his view and his framing kind of things. And then he's about to try to reemerge and rebuild his career. So hopefully people continue this cancellation because I'm not for cancellations, but I don't want to see this guy come back. Let's continue here, though.
So I was talking about director Lynn Ramsey, who he worked with in We Need to Talk About Kevin. He said, I'm working with her again. That will likely be the first thing I do, a film that she and I are writing together. I've been writing a lot because you can do that in solitude, which has been friendly to me. He's trying to be this.
Oh, he's the victim.
Yes.
Social justice. He's been knocked down on the totem pole. He's got to climb back up to the top.
Miller said, when you work in this industry, you will find yourself in deep, deep relation to people who do not give a single F about you or your well-being at all. Not that I don't hold a lot of remorse and lamentation for a lot of things I did and a lot of the things that happened in that time. So blaming others for not stopping him from being dumb.
Yeah, and if I were to look at his kind of track record there, I would have said drugs, mental illness have a lot to do with a lot of this. And that being said, I have no forgiveness for those things. You still are responsible for your actions.
And says, but I'm really, really grateful for the lessons that came with that abyss, he added.
Okay, and he's going to be playing It's a Vampire style movie and things like that. To be honest with you, if he didn't have all those scandals with him, that might have been a good role for him. I just don't think audiences are going to ever accept this guy again. The things he was doing to children are unacceptable. That being said, we do have a story about Kevin Spacey later. And man, the way he's trying to frame things is just as insane as Ezra Miller. Okay, let's go into the final article of Ezra here.
So who the hell asked for the Ezra Miller comeback?
Nobody. Okay, here we go. It's been a while since we heard.
It's been a while since we heard from Ezra Miller. That's probably a good thing. The once promising actor went on an extremely documented spree of mayhem, violence, and alleged space abuse that overshadowed his work. He was caught on camera choking women. He was arrested several times for charges including disorderly conduct and harassment. One couple was granted a temporary restraining order against Miller after Miller allegedly threatened them and stole one of their passports. Miller was also accused of bad things and manipulating a young woman and of telling people he was a messiah.
And he's trying to go into Jared Leto territory, being a messiah or some kind of Jesus-like figure. Okay, before we go into this, they said he stayed out of the spotlight for quite a while, and he did not. This is very recent, at least in my mind. So the fact that he was budding and emerging star, anybody that knew Hollywood knew they were putting him up to be the next big star, but they never kind of got him there. So because the mainstream public didn't know him too much, maybe they're thinking, well, a lot of people won't know about these scandals and they can reemerge him. The problem they're going to have is the independent media are going to bring these things up and hammer them home any movie he's in. Okay, let's talk about the rest of this article here.
So this person says, look, and I think this is a interesting site, but whatever. Look, Miller is talented and their mental health struggles are reportedly pretty extensive. In the statement he issued to apologize for past behavior in August 2022, he said he had gone through a time of intense crisis and had begun treatment for complex mental health issues. This person hopes there's healing, really does, but not sure that goes hand in hand with returning to Hollywood right now.
Yeah, and that being said about Ezra Miller, I'm going to be keeping a close eye on when this movie does come out. Is anybody going to give him another role after this? I really hope not, but they're going to be attaching their careers to his, and we are in kind of a new era of cancellation here, and people are getting cancellated not only for their political views, but when they do things to children like he did, I don't expect to see them in Hollywood again. That being said, we are seeing the reemergence of Kevin Spacey. Okay.
And with Ezra Miller, it's different because he actually did disgusting things. And he actually, and he did it,
and he was doing these things right in front of the parents. This is the crazy thing. Like the parent, this was when I was just waking up to things going on in Canada that were extremely progressive politically. And Ezra Miller, all this stuff was acceptable. The mainstream media was kind of trying to portray it that he was the victim. They would try to stay on his side, but it just kept snowballing. And eventually they weren't able to cover for him anymore.
Yes. And the public in the end is the one that gets to decide if he comes back or not. And I don't think they're going to be too, forgiving of what he actually did.
Yeah.
And most people remember because it was so public.
Okay. Let's change the background here and then we'll get into the regular stories. Any background is fine.
And meanwhile, I'll say Latinos Land, hello, Polly, says her movie career is a catastrophe now. Talking about Rachel Zegler.
Oh, yeah.
She has one indie film project with Marissa Tomei that to date hasn't been funded. Exactly.
Yeah. maybe if they bring her back, she could maybe go on streaming because the independent media is going to watch it. It's going to get a lot of publicity because they're going to keep bringing up all of her past transgressions and things like this. So I think for a low budget, straight to streaming movie, it would get a lot of publicity. But for somebody to attach a mainstream Hollywood flick to her, they're risking millions of dollars. And I don't think Hollywood's going to do that anymore.
And even with that movie, it seems like most people are not very on board with it too.
Well,
with the Marisa Tomei one.
Also, like, she did not do actors in general any favors. She is the poster child for why Hollywood is going to want to turn to AI and AI actors, because they're not going to say crazy things about politics in the mainstream media and get $1 billion cancellation attached to Disney or any other studio.
I really want doing a Zegler to become a thing.
That's what I keep saying, doing a Zegler.
Pedro's is doing a Zegler.
Okay, let's go into some of these.
And Latino Stan, Poly Latino Stan says, you guys are doing great, so thank you so much.
Yeah, we're trying to clip we're just trying to start getting into clips. So if they look segmented and I look awkward in between, it's because we're trying to learn to clip so we can have things on our video section.
And also, I'm a great fan of Poly Latino Stan, so thank you for being here.
Okay, now we'll go into what was normally the show. I'm trying to do today because it kind of was about Stars cancellation and stuff. Now we're just getting to the pop culture news of the day here. And we're going to start with Robert Downey Jr. And I talked a little bit about this between segments earlier. But why don't you read the headline here?
From Variety, Robert Downey Jr. says Pedro Pascal is becoming a star reaffirms my faith in our industry. Downey invited Pascal to homework days during Avengers Doomsday filming.
Yeah, and I don't know what to say other than Robert Downey Jr. has a new boyfriend because, man, Pedro Pascal is ready for cancellation. Robert Downey Jr. has really been hyping Doomsday and other projects that don't look so well. Disney must be paying him a ton of money to promote these things. I wouldn't be surprised if they're paying him to promote Pascal here. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's read a tiny bit about this. This headline list kind of astonished me and dropped my jaw this morning.
Says Pedro Pascal was lauded by several of his co-stars in a new Variety Fair cover story because they're trying other news not to come out. Most notably by Robert Downey Jr., the two stars are set to face off against each other in the upcoming Marvel movie Avengers Doomsday, which has been filming this summer at Pinewood Studios. The two actors have gotten close on the Doomsday set, with Downey hosting homework days at his home for the cast, presumably to workshop
It
scenes.
just doesn't sound good when Pascal was all over social media licking a rainbow lightsaber, and now they're doing, what do they call it, homework days?
Yes.
And they're getting really close. Like, it's fine. It's fine if you're gay. We have no problem with that. Everybody's an adult. They can do what they want. But this is not looking
Well, the
good.
fact that they're making Pedro Pascal the new face of masculinity,
That's the
of
thing.
non-toxic masculinity, that's the issue.
Yeah. Okay. And I thought he was good in Mandalorian, but they hid him behind a mask the whole time, so he really didn't have to do that much acting. Okay.
Pascal would not reveal exactly what goes down on these days, only answering the question with the following remark, very good question.
And Robert Downey Jr. is honestly pretty beloved of all the people that came out of this Marvel universe. And his return into this, I hope it isn't his downfall, because I actually really do like Robert Downey Jr. a lot, as well as Johnny Depp.
So what Downey has said is Pascal's slow trajectory to becoming a household name, who is on a wildly hot streak, kind of reaffirms my faith in our industry, Downey told Vanity Fair about his co-star. Pascal returned the favor by saying of Downey, he's just so immediately generous and inviting that you just feel you can be afraid, you can be hungry, you can be ambivalent. Pascal said he was well aware about the disgruntlement around his casting as Reed Richards, with people complaining he's too old, he's not right, he needs to shave. He turned to Downey during these difficult times and remained committed to his Marvel role.
And Robert Downey Jr. saying good things about Pascal is one thing, but Pascal saying great things about Robert Downey Jr.
Well, he has to.
If he continues to do this and this cancellation actually becomes a thing over the series of the next 4 movies that are going to be coming out, of every major Hollywood star, I'm kind of expecting a snowball cancellation for Pascal. All the dominoes are there. All the pieces are there. And anybody that's really attached to him and comes to his defense and he comes to their defense, it could have a backwards rub on their career.
And I will continue to say that they're trying really hard to keep profiling Pascal and to, quiet all the stuff, especially with the search results of them calling him daddy and doing this whole daddy campaign, just so the truth about his father, his actual dad, doesn't come out.
Yeah. Okay, let's go into the next article. And I like this one because I really do want to see F1. This is the first movie of the year that I actually do want to see. We went to go see Mission Impossible, which I seen because I wanted to review it. Actually wanting to go there, I was a little bit disappointed in the movie. I could have waited for streaming. F1 is something I actually want to go to theaters for. It looks like an amazing role for Brad Pitt. I think Brad Pitt still has the ability to draw a female audience into theaters. And as far as a male audience, this movie's attracting me as well. It really screams masculinity in a certain way, in a traditional sense. Hollywood used to know how to do it. And I like that storyline of somebody that's kind of over the hill that has to come back for certain reasons. I love that narrative. So let's kind of get into...
And before we get into the article, Rafa says, will Pedro Pascal ever come out of the closet? No.
I think
he doesn't need to, honestly.
Yeah, I think I don't know. We'll see. If the cancellation gets big enough, he might try to use it as a shield for his career.
Yeah, that's true.
So I could see him definitely coming out fully and saying they're picking on me because I'm gay.
Yeah.
Which isn't the case at all.
Or he could go the female route and say, I'm queer, and never actually do anything.
Or he could say I'm a girl.
Well, yeah, he could follow his sister's footsteps.
Okay, let's go into the box office projections here a little bit.
So from Deadline, F1 to room around the world to 115 million plus opening. Megan 2.0 hopes to break 20 million in the box office preview for.
Yeah, and I could actually see F1 breaking 115 million at the box office. If it doesn't, or it doesn't quite get there, I don't think this movie is going to have a lot of fall off week to week. I think the hype behind this movie, once people watch it, will probably snowball. Much like Sinners didn't have a fall off, I'm not expecting F1 to have a fall off, and it should be able to garner quite a bit of money back. Now, Megan, on the other hand, I don't know. There have been a lot of good horror films recently. Horror films are a lot cheaper to make. Its box office projections are a lot less, but it doesn't have to make as much money. And like I've been saying, $40 million to $90 million plus a marketing budget, I think is going to be the sweet spot for new Hollywood once they start realizing these big box office movies are just too much of a risk and you can make films for a lot cheaper and make them just as good. Okay, let's read a little bit about this one.
So sources tell Deadline that the Warner Brothers released Brad Pitt PG-13 movie has statewide pre-sales that have been heating up, gassed up from 88% certified fresh. Rotten Tomatoes reviews. Currently, we hear that US-Canada pre-sales for F1 are ahead of Gladiator 2, which was 55 million, way ahead of Brad Pitt's Bullet Train, which was 30 million, and 4 times that of pre-Bad Times 2019 Ford versus Ferrari, which was 31.4 million.
Okay, let's pause it right there. And I love the image they used here of Brad Pitt, and this has to be from the movie, the red, white, and blue going over his head. They've leaned into Americana right at the right time. They've leaned into masculinity at the right time. They have a superstar that comes from the right era that can attract both audiences. As long as they made a good movie here, and I haven't seen it yet, this thing should make a lot of money at the box office. Okay, let's continue a little bit.
While overseas, given the popularity of the sport, the movie was always intended to make bank for its 200 million production from Top Gun Maverick director Joseph Kosinski with 75 million. F1 looks to pick up speed in the States. Sources tell that a 40 to 50 million plus opening is par for the course at 3,800 theaters stateside. This, despite the fact that the box office tracking from NRG took their estimate down to around 38 million.
Okay, and every time I talk about this movie, because we seen this trailer in Mission Impossible, and it was the only trailer that appealed to me at all, but it appealed to me in a major way, and I turned to Nat and I said, we need to go watch that movie. I rarely say that about a movie, especially these days. There's just been so much garbage over the last couple of years. But when I seen the movie, it really harkened me back to Tom Cruise in Days of Thunder. And I think that was 80s, 90s movie. But that was, F1 was the trailer. We seen it on Mission Impossible, which was a Tom Cruise movie, which harkened me back to Days of Thunder because Tom Cruise was already in my head. I think if this movie is done right, it's going to be gold. Okay, let's skip a couple of the articles and go right into Kevin Spacey here, actually, because I was talking about him in regards of Ezra Miller.
So from Deadline, Kevin Spacey eyeing substantial comeback and says he has forgiveness for those who rush to judgment about him.
Okay, and this headline is a bunch of BS, excuse my language, but Kevin Spacey is trying to manufacture that he was falsely accused of things. He's been accused of so many things and the rumors that have surrounded him, and it's not a rush to judgment. Okay, the fact that this guy is able to make a comeback, this is based purely on the fact that he came from an era where stars were stars and people do remember him as a star. And he was one of those few stars that was an excellent actor. I won't put that past him, but some of the things he was involved in and doing, it's a shame that like he should just be quiet about it and reemerge. He doesn't have to try to reframe his past transgressions as something he never did. Okay, obviously they're going to frame it in a pro-Spacey way. So let's, again, take this with a grain of salt.
The two-time Oscar winner Kevin Spacey has said he forgives those who rush to judgment before the results of his legal cases, but won't work with those people in the future. Like he has the ability to decide. Asked by IGSF artistic director about his legal issues, how his legal issues have changed him, Spacey said, "These experiences have allowed me to stop, assess, reassess, and listen, and be very grateful for the work I'm able to do, both on screen and off screen."
Yeah, and he's an interesting case because the mainstream audience these days, I wouldn't expect them to welcome him back, but he was very sly on the way he tried to mount this comeback. He didn't just start appearing in movies. He went on Tucker Carlson and played the president. He used his accent and really tried to appeal to a conservative audience. He did a lot of sly media that wasn't regular pop culture media or mainstream movie media to really try to get on the good side, I would say, of the conservative side of America in order to try to make this comeback. I think he read the tea leaves right. And that's why, even though he has these past transgressions, somehow he's managing a comeback. And if people do look past his past transgressions, the fact that he is such a good actor, I think he will be able to make this a success. That being said, the fact that he's able to make a comeback, man, maybe Ezra Miller will. And that would be an absolute travesty. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's talk about Adam Sandler real quick before we call it a day.
From Variety, Adam Sandler sets You're My Best Friend comedy tour.
And let's read a little bit.
Adam Sandler is hitting the road again. The beloved comedian has just announced a North American tour titled You're My Best Friend, kicking off this fall. The North American jaunt will see Sandler hit more than 30 major cities across the U.S. and Canada, starting in Jacksonville, Florida on September 5th, including stops in Miami, Philadelphia, Buffalo, Boston, Cleveland, Ontario, Salt Lake City, Chicago, and more. The tour concludes in Las Vegas on November 1st.
Yeah, and I like this move from him, and I like when he went into dramas on Netflix and things like that, when he played the jeweler and when he would play the basketball coach of an independent basketball star. Those movies really showed a different side of Adam Sandler. He then had that next Netflix contract where he was kind of recycling part 2 of his major hits like Happy Gilmore, things like that. That's not my favorite stuff Adam Sandler does. I really liked him in the dramas, do this onstage comedy, show a different side to audiences that may have forgotten he did come from comedy and music and things like that. So I think this is a good move from him. It gives audiences a little bit of a break before he goes back into directing and acting and things like that. I hope when he does come back, he does decide to do some more dramas because he really knows how to pick independent films fairly well. Okay, that's it for today.
Rafa says about Kevin Spacey, I believe, he is killing them with kindness.
Man. I don't really know. I didn't think he was going to be able to make a comeback. He is. I'm fine with it. At least he can act. So it's something more than Ezra Miller and some of these other people, actors that we talked about, their cancellations. They don't really have acting ability. That would be Zegler. That would be Kim Kardashian. And Ezra Miller in his independent films, I will say he was okay. But when he's tried to cross over to mainstream, he just doesn't have the star power effect.
No, because he's creepy and scary.
Yeah.
And he plays that well, but that's because that's who he is.
Well, thanks for tuning in. Every day at noon Central, I have pop culture news. At 9:15, we go into politics. politics right back here. Nat has a show on our Spanish channel, Nat and the Guy in Espanol. Why don't you tell them a little bit about it?
Yeah, so that one mixes a bit more politics and pop culture at 8 Central Time, and it's on our other Spanish channel.
Yeah, and I'm going to have a lot more videos coming out in the video section of this channel. So hopefully I can get to 1,000 subscribers, because that would really help us monetize. Our Spanish channel is monetized, but it's a long story to go into that. We really are trying to get the English channel monetized. So if you're not subscribed, please do so. It would really help me out.
Yes.
Adios.
Thank you.